There are a few other things that I haven't shown you yet. There were so many other things as I have mentioned in the last video. So now I'm standing here and can show you what we did here. So you see that this tank is now being filled, and it is being filled in a rather violent way because we are pumping out of the pond and into this tank by using the pump that we have there. This is able to deliver 55 liters a minute. So that means this tank stays full despite the fact, and here is the other new thing, that in here we have now two pumps for different purposes. So we built this so that we can choose. The pump to the right is currently running. This is able to deliver 7,000 liters an hour, and it's a dump pump. So you turn it on and then it pumps no matter what. No intelligence whatsoever. And the one to the left is a Grundforce booster pump that is smart, can deliver 3,500 liters an hour, and that is okay for most cases. And now why do we have two? So here is the explanation. Here to the left we have this array of solenoid valves, and with the Grundforce booster pump that is smart and has a pressure sensor, I can open a valve and then the pump will start. So that's great. But the other pump, someone has to start. And I can do this now with my automation stuff. So on the outside there is a box that has relays, and I can turn it on and off and control this. Another version would be to use the Rainbird controller and let the controller do this. But the controller does not control the type of relays that we have, and I would have to have a pump relay and stuff like that, so I won't go there. But what we do is, depending on the area that we want to irrigate, we use the left or the right pump. And of course these two shut-off valves, in a second step we can also automate and use solenoid valves there. And I will tell you something about those solenoid valves in a moment. Well, in the last video you have seen a glimpse already, but I will show you this time where they will be installed, and this is the second place where we can then install them. So now that I'm here, let me explain. So the idea is, if these two shut-off valves were now remotely controlled, then a piece of software can decide which pump to use depending on the irrigation target. And right now I have to come here and open this so that this pump is fed and is able to do its job. Mostly we use the left one, where the other is just as a backup and for some special cases. So right now I am irrigating B2, and that is where we also planted the cypress trees. So I'm probably too far away so that you can actually see that, but over there you might spot a wobbler at the entrance, and this line of wobblers is now also irrigating for an hour the new cypress trees, so that their mounds are filled and these things can work. So with that being said, let me now go out and take you to the other places, and my plan is to also show you the Miyawaki forest from the inside. I am not willing to fly the drone in these hot temperatures. I did this last year and the batteries suffered. There's actually a little bulge, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, on the bottom. So this is not very good to fly such a drone with a lithium battery when it's 38 degrees out there. That thing might explode, catch on fire, and then we have a much bigger issue at hand. And I don't want that, obviously. So I either have to do this very early in the morning, And I have to say, I value my sleep, so I'm not an early riser. Us IT people are like that. We don't like to be up very early. Of course, we miss out on a few things. So I either have to do this when the time comes or a little bit later. And so there will be no drought for the moment, unless there is. So promised, but we'll see. So now let me open this here. I need 2 hands for that. So see you on the other side. So I made it to the other side, and as you can see, it is all very dry. The horses roam this place. We actually split the horses into a group of 2 and a group of 2, so that the blind Sakahawea has a seeing horse as a companion. And it works out very well. And Zolo, the gelding who has been mistreated, and Librada, the black mare, they are roaming this place here, and they're doing a good job. But of course there's a lot of land to cover and poop on, and they do this. Of course we should have more of these animals, but yeah, time will tell. So now I'm going right here to follow the now dry seasonal creek. And by the way, that lovely plant is all over the place. We have a little bit, but I have seen places around where there's a lot more, and nobody really cares about this. And I know what it is, and I also know that we should not have it. But then we are not cattle ranchers, so that means this will eventually disappear by biological succession. The seed is all over the place, so whenever there's enough moisture, it can grow, and it will. So there's nothing to worry about in our case. So here I can show you a few new things, and also the state of the pond. So as you might have already spotted, there's another camera. This is now Pond Cam. I'm trying out a different brand of cameras. So this is a Rio Link. It does not communicate to the internet, so there is no need to send data outside like some other cameras do. This is important. I don't want that. I don't want my video be sent to some Amazon cloud or something that ends up in China or whatever. Not that I'm very suspicious, but I simply don't want to saturate my internet connection. And this can be turned on by demand. So right now it's in standby mode. It's not sending data. And if I now connect to it, then it will turn on and send me information. So this is also something that I like about those. So if you yourself are looking for a cheap camera that's not always on, so that you can check on things, and it doesn't need anything but a Wi-Fi signal, because you see the only cable is to the solar panel on top, then that would be an option. And it helps to have a look at the pond. And the pond is holding, so our pump is not sitting at the bottom. This is filled, I would think, 1.50 meters or so, like it was. I compared to old images when it was dug, because I was able to swim in there. And we also are pumping water in from the outflow of the water reservoir, and without falling down there, you can see and hear it, that this is being filled all the time. And here on the other side we do have our cypress trees that we planted earlier. They are a little bit in bad shape, but we now have mini sprinklers there, so that every time we irrigate somewhere there, which will happen tonight again for 8 hours, they will also receive water. So it is every couple of days, and that should help them. The other form of irrigation was a nice thing, but eventually it is not enough. And for it to be enough, we need to make more improvements. And that's why I'm taking you here, because I can show you the next step in the evolution of our irrigation system. And by the way, before I talk more about the irrigation, so this pond that we have here is nice, but it only holds a maximum of 150 cubic meters of water, and that is not enough. So I have calculated and looked around, and the idea is to make this pond a lot bigger. So really a lot bigger, so that it extends all the way to here. Basically, the pond will begin shortly before the cypress trees. So all this area here in front, this will become pond, so that it has twice the capacity. And I want to dig another pond at the other part of our land over there. That's what we call our zone B. And together we should then have 700 cubic meters of water stored. So basically whatever shows up in winter and autumn and spring, this gets stored and then becomes available for irrigation, because I figured how much we need to cover the 3 up to 4 months, and therefore we need all that. It is impressive what comes from the sky. It's really impressive. Most people underappreciate the amount of water that comes when it rains. Okay, so now hear this. So there is the pipe, this one here. Right now it forms a loop. We try to shorten it, but there is a pressure reduction valve somewhere there, and we just leave the long thing. This is going to be replaced eventually, because we also want to have a different pump in there. So that pump is what we had. It's okay, it works, it helps. But we want a pump that is a lot more powerful and also can deliver different flows, so you can regulate it. And there's also some investigation going on which model to choose. Okay, so but first this here. So there is this line that goes in there, and then there's a T-piece, and you see 2 shut-off valves. The one on the right delivers the water to the farmyard. That is being used at the moment to refill the tank while the irrigation runs there. And the one to the left goes all the way into Zone C. So later I will close that and open the other, so that at night then we can irrigate Zone A, the different places. Now let's continue to make our way up there. So I'm here on the animal lane, where the horses do walk. And what I should mention, so we received material to work with fiberglass, and the idea is, so let me explain this here in the shade first. So all this electronics stuff and the solenoid valves, they should not be exposed to the rain. And of course it is hot here, and the sun is scorching hot, and I don't want all this stuff to sit in the heat. Some things are made for that, like the Wi-Fi access points. They can be exposed and be in full sunlight. Some other devices also can be hot as 90 degrees and still function, but not everything is made for that. Those are the different IP classifications, and there are other things how you can identify those. I'm learning a lot about this part. So the plan is to build boxes out of plywood and then use fiberglass to make them waterproof and also provide some insulation, because fiberglass, I learned, is also an insulator. At the same time, radio waves go through unhindered, and that is also important because what's inside will communicate, and therefore Wi-Fi needs to come through. Or else we would have to run a lot of cables, and of course it's then too long and we get in all kinds of trouble technically. So the plan is, for each of these places we will now build a box that has two compartments, one for the water stuff, so the valves, and the other compartment for an electrical box that has a DIN reel there, and there are the relays and whatever we need. So anything that requires electricity is in one compartment, and in the other there is the water stuff. And then there is a through hole, and there a few cables run through to actuate, for example, the solenoid valves. So that place that I showed you, there I have already the two solenoid valves that are operated at 220 volts, so the regular household power that we have here. So in the US it would be 120, that kind. And then, once we have this, I don't have to come out here and make the switch from delivering water to the farmyard or to Zone A for irrigation. And later, when we have the other pumps and the other two, the extension at the end, the other pond, then this will also continue to be useful, but probably we need to change the diameter of the water pipe. So probably right now it's a 40 millimeter pipe. Let's call it 1 inch. And the other pump likely has a 2-inch attachment, so it can deliver more water in a given period of time. Which is also why we are using the pipes that we have for the moment and replace them when they burst, because we know that eventually we will install a different type of pipe that is bigger and rated for high pressure. Now that we learn what we need, we can actually plan for it. Before, for those who hear this the first time, before the water was drinking water for animals. It wasn't for irrigation. This is not an area where you irrigate. It is a ranching area, so the animals eat what is there, and during summer the land falls dry, and that's how it is. And you keep them alive, and you need water for that, amongst other things, but it's not really expected to be green. What I want to go back to the time when this area was a denser forest by planting a lot of trees for shade, and eventually have a closed canopy so that they can do other things below that canopy. It used to be like that in the past. Yeah? A Mediterranean forest is a forest, and forests have shade. This, what's called a Dehesa, is a landscape that is man-made, and it became a little bit too open. So the extensive ranching is a very good idea, and it's really good. It's nothing wrong. But if you do this in fenced-in areas that are too small, then of course you're overdoing it, and then suddenly you have overgrazing. So that is basically the story here. And instead of trying to work with a lot of animals and then have economical problems, we made that switch. We removed all the animals, and now the idea is to plant trees. So when the trees have grown and there's enough shade, then we can start with animals again, but in a different way, in a tightly controlled fashion. But it's not now. So we have a good portion of time in front of us to fix it first. We should have done this in the first place. But if you don't know, you have to learn. That's how it goes. So I paid money for learning. So now I know. Okay, so now back to this other thing. So here, there, we also have 2 shut-off valves. One goes to the line of wobblers that are able to deliver a lot of water, but unfortunately they deliver the water across all this area, and not enough for every couple of days gets to the trees, which is why they are how they are. So we added a drip irrigation line that has some mini sprinklers on it, and that delivers a lot of water directly to the tree and not to the overall area. And that is the second line. And this line is always open for the moment. So it acts basically like another wobbler for everything that is further down below. Because there where my shadow is, now you can see it better, there is a pressure reduction valve that delivers 1.72 bar to the right side, and therefore it is just like another wobbler. So every time we irrigate, and tonight it will be an 8-hour long session, 8 sectors, an hour each, this gets water for 8 hours. So that means that there where the cypress trees are, they will get a lot of water tonight over those 8 hours. And the next time they will get a lot of water again. So this is how it's supposed to be for the time being. Eventually I want to use the wobblers, but for that I need more control, and for the control I need to finish this installation here. And now that all the bits and pieces have arrived, we can learn how to make those fiberglass boxes and do a proper installation with rigid PVC pipe. And then this is the next place that will be fully automated and protected, so that we can call this done. So right now, keep this in mind. We are figuring out how to do things and learn how to work with all the different materials that seem suitable. And of course, first you have to find them. And then we can make the installation. Hindsight is 2020. And right now we are still looking ahead. So here there will be this box, maybe in a week or so. But that box down there comes first because it's more urgent. And then this gets hooked up to the power line, which is there. And that way, this is then under the control of another rainbow controller. We have one with 4 ports, and then we can decide if we irrigate the trees directly or we can irrigate the area. So maybe we can run a program that every day the trees get water for an hour and the overall area gets it an hour every week or so. So we can be creative and adapt. And of course this is important for the time to come in the future, so the following years, because this area should develop. Now let's go ahead and have a look here. You might be able to spot one sunflower already. So here we have Sunn Hemp and friends. This is not being irrigated every day as I wish. The reason is there's not enough water that we can use, so we have to ration a little bit and spread it where it has more effect or is more urgent. This grows very well with the resident moisture once it has developed its taproot. So you see there are quite a few tall plants, and I will show you a little bit ahead some plants that are even bigger. And of course the fact that there is a sunflower making seeds is also pointing at the fact that there is moisture in there. Also, this has not been irrigated every day. Of course it would be nice, but you have to make do with what you have. I actually see that there is a wobbler there that has toppled over. There is something missing. We need to fix that. Yeah, you see here there's a little bit more shade, and they have germinated better than in the other parts. So here to the left it looks drier, got less water, and there's no shade. And here there is shade, and I will take you to the place where the valves are. You see there where it's bright green. They germinated ahead of time because there was always a leak while this got installed, and they took advantage of it. And therefore there they are already pretty tall. The idea for all this is to make seeds and prepare the ground, get some roots in the ground, and that adds biomass and helps the soil to retain water. And next year we want to plant palovnias trees here, and as we now know, we need to have more water to keep them well, and the palovnia trees are supposed to become a commercial crop in 10-12 years. They are ready for harvest, and then we can sell the wood. So we need to get this right, and therefore we will build the irrigation here to in the best way possible. And so here you have these. There are some yellow leaves here, but they will figure this out. There's actually already one that has a flower. I can't zoom in here, but there is a yellow flower. That is the Sunn Hemp. So that is very good. And I see here there is another flower coming up somewhere there. So this is developing well. They can grow about 1.60 meters. And here on the other side, well, there's even a wild one, seed that escaped. And here on the other side, things are also looking well, but it depends a little bit. There is shade, and in the shade they are taller. To my surprise, down there they are also looking very nice, while here, which has been irrigated for a long time, for more time than the other, they are not looking well. So they should appreciate the shower that they will get tonight. But overall, this is not a failure, so I'm pretty happy with the results. I also see there in the distance more sunflowers. They are not very big, but it's because of the type of soil. So the type of soil is the big problem. So we use the tractor and something like a harrow here to prepare this, but this only goes 15 centimeters or so deep, and below that it is heavily compacted. But that is why we have these sunflowers and friends here, because their taproot should help to penetrate this. And we want to continue to using this plant so that eventually we improve the structure of the soil. For grasses, annual grasses especially, like most people have here on their farms for ranching, it doesn't matter so much. So basically they are happy that there is a lot of forage available while it is moist, and when summer comes they simply accept that everything is dry and there is nothing except dry matter. So nobody is really concerned, but I am. And so are you, because that's, I guess, why you're watching this. So the idea is to get the soil improved so that it becomes deeper, and the only way to do this is add biological compounds, and at the moment there aren't that many. So I know my soil because I have used the excavator many times personally, and so I absolutely know how it looks like. So the first 15 centimeters are more or less organic. It's not very, very good. It's not a dark, rich soil from elsewhere, but it's okayish. And then it's sand and minerals and heavily compacted. So when we created the platform where soon we want to put a concrete slab on and build a house and so on, that material got from down below. And it's perfect for that, because it compacts easily and stays the way you put it. So they deliberately went deep and took out all the material. But then at 3.54 meters, there's water. So we have this 15 centimeters at the top, and then to 3.5 meters, it is sand and minerals and no organic compounds, and then there's water. So the oak trees, 300-400 years old, they got to reach the water down there. New trees that we want to establish now, they would have to go through this waterless, mineral, sandy, compacted material. And in summer, when this is completely waterless, this is a very hard task for a tree. I think they can do this, but it is challenging. So we can help them from the top. They are powerful. Their roots can break concrete. So they are well suited for that. But they need some help. And that is the irrigation. And so irrigation is a top priority. And we need to learn how to do this right and have more water available, so that we can restore plot by plot. And then, like I said, we can have animals again, but not before.